So Legend of Zelda Tears of a Kingdom was released in May of this year, and it's been a game that I've been playing non-stop since its release. Unfortunately, my time with Link has come to an end. I defeated Ganon, saved Princess Zelda, and secured Hyrule's future. Or at least until Ganon gets resurrected. Today we'll be looking at my personal top 10 fusions of Tears of a Kingdom.
At number 1, we have the Forest Dweller Spear or Sword. This one you can find at the Musanokir Shrine in the Great Hyrule Forest. In this example, I'll be using a spear, but if used correctly, this fusion can be completely broken. Now that we're here, we're going to make our way to the Great Deku's Throat Market, and we're going to ascend one level up towards his mouth. And we're going to do this one more time to get to the top of the Great Deku. Now that we're at the top, we're going to use this shot as a reference. Follow the arrow to get the Forest Dweller Spear. So Tears of a Kingdom has introduced many different items with different effects for you to experiment with. From the Muddle Fruit that confuses enemies to the Puff Shroom that creates a smoke screen for you to get away. However, a lot of these are single-use items, that is unless you have the Forest Dweller Spear. So in this example, we have a Volt Fruit attached to a Gloom Spear, one shot, one use. Now with the Forest Dweller Spear, we can shock our target. The fruit stays on and recharges. Now apply this on a rainy day and you have a weapon that has electric AoE damage. An even better fusion is the Forest Dweller Spear with the Puff Shroom. This is a great way to spam strikes against a group of enemies, or you can use this to make a quick getaway. Next up, we have the Elemental Boomerang, and just like its name suggests, you attach an elemental item to your boomerang to cause some long-range damage with a twist. Here we're going to grab a boomerang at the Utumb Shrines located at the Hebra Mountains. Now that we have our boomerang, let's fuse Farosh's Horn to make an Electro Boomerang. Now you have long-range electrical attacks. And just for fun, this is what an Ice Boomerang would look like. Now, if you've been using the boomerang as much as I have, you'll notice that the boomerang does home back to you when you throw it. And with a little bit of practice, this can be a deadly weapon to your arsenal. Next up, we have a beam emitter fused to a weapon or shield. For this item, we're going to go to the East Gerudo Sky Archipelago at the Rakashog Shrine. So at the beginning of the game, this fusion does some decent damage, but at late game, this becomes complete trash. However, there's no denying that it's fun to shoot laser beams from your weapons. And here we are facing some lizard boys, and as you can see, the laser beam can damage multiple enemies at the same time. And just so you can see its effects, here we have an enemy using a laser shield against me. Next up, we have homing arrows, a staple of any Legend of Zelda game. In Tears of a Kingdom, you can fuse eyeballs to your arrows to home in on your target. Additionally, your arrows will take on the attributes of the eyeballs you fuse it with. Here we have a normal Keese eyeball with no additional effects, but attach an ice Keese eyeball and you'll freeze your enemies. An electric Keese eyeball to shock your enemies, or an Aracuda eyeball for an increase in speed for homing. Now, are you having a hard time climbing up objects? Does your stamina bar run out because you haven't completed any shrines? Then the next fusion will definitely be of interest to you. We have bombs, springs, and rockets for your shield. Attach one of these items to your shield, do a shield hop, and get some major air. No longer will Link have to suffer the embarrassment of climbing like a commoner. All he was missing was a bomb, spring, or rocket. Now I did want to include some footage of the shield and rocket combo, but to get some movement you are going to have to use Tulin's Gust to go forward. But between the bomb and spring, the rocket definitely gets you more height. Next up, we have the Double Spear. Now this looks absolutely ridiculous. You have two spears fused together that sometimes clips into the ground or the ceiling if you're too close. It has decent attack power and long reach to damage your enemy while keeping you safe.
The next fusion we have is the Flame Emitter. You can use this to melt ice, burn enemies, but I like to use it to get some quick air. And partnered with Tulin's Gust, you can use this to cover quick distances. Obviously this works best in the grasslands area. Partner this with bullet time and you can use your bow to pick off your enemies. Here's Link using the Flame Emitter for crowd control. Hit your enemies with fire and watch them dance. Next up we have the Bomb Flower with the 5x Lionel Bow. This is a great way to carpet bomb monster forces and commit some heinous war crimes. This combination is extremely devastating, but if you are running low on bomb flowers, the best way to get them is to go to the depths, and they're usually found growing around trees. And we have our final shot. Boom. Next up is the Cannon Shield, the most destructive shield in Zelda history. There's a lot of lethal combinations that you can make in Tears of the Kingdom, but the Cannon Shield is probably the most versatile Zonai fusion. The Cannon Shield combines Link's defensive tool with an offensive one to fire high-speed cannons at your enemies. You can use this to finish off enemies with low health, conserve arrows by firing this at a distance, or even blow up those pesky rocks and tunnels. Now to get some cannons, you're going to have to make a trip to Sky Island, specifically in Necluda or the Sokala Archipelago. Now the cool thing about the shield cannons is they run on battery. So if you've collected enough batteries, you could fire at your heart's content, or at least until your shield breaks. Rubies are fused with the elemental power of fire, while sapphires are fused with the elemental power of ice. By fusing your ruby to your shield, you have a new way to explode your enemies. This is another example of a fusion creating an item with both offensive and defensive capabilities. Anytime enemies make contact with your ruby shield, they ignite into a ball of flame. I think this item is even better than the flame emitter for crowd control. Also, let's not forget that equipping the ruby shield will keep you warm on those cold and lonely nights. Now, the effects of the ruby shield is mirrored inversely with the sapphire shield. Any enemy that strikes your shield will be instantly frozen. Once frozen, you can immediately attack your enemy, or if your health is running low, you can make a quick getaway. And just like the ruby shield, the sapphire shield will keep you cool when you're traversing the Gerudo Desert. Well, there you have it. So these are my top 10 fusions for Tears of the Kingdom. Now, you may or may not agree with this list, but these are my top fusions that I used during my journey with Link. Let me know what your top fusions are in the comments below, and if you like this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.